Hi, I am Everett Maxine, the host and creator of The Absence of Her podcast, birthed July 2019 in the memory of my mother, who was found deceased June 19th, 2018. I share my life experiences to let others know they are not alone. Over the past few years, I spoke mainly from a place of pain. During the beginning of my grief journey, as I am learning to navigate the journey and help listeners as well, I relaunched to share from a positive space purpose. Last year, God allowed me to birth a community named after my podcast. If you are a teen girl or woman who has experienced the loss and or absence of a mother and seeking community, please go to our website, www.theabsenceofhercommunity.org, and complete the interest form. I would love to know how you could benefit from community and connection, because grief is a journey better done with community. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and most importantly, share. Pouring from an Empty Cup, Part 3, Workplace. It has been a while since the first 2 episodes of the series. Part 1 was about friendships and Part 2 was about family. And today, Part 3, we're talking about the workplace. I want to speak from the same 3 areas: showing up, sacrifice, and support. I have worked since the age of 16. My actual first job was telemarketing, trying to sell these awesome coupon books over the phone in my hometown. I sucked at it. And at any job that required me to convince people to buy something they were not already looking for. It wasn't until after I graduated with my bachelor's degree that I had a career and not just a job. In 2021, I became a full-time middle school teacher. Yes, I teached the little kids with hormones and raging attitudes. What they don't tell you about teaching is everything that actually applies to being a teacher. For example, when I worked for jobs like HEB and Texas Children's, we accrued vacation time, and both employers if you invested matched so you could have a great retirement and savings plan. When I worked for Dow Chemical, sick time was unlimited. And I really think teaching should have a setup like that. And yes, of course, with systems in place that if you use too much, you weren't paid at 100%. Teachers receive 5 sick days and 5 personal days. And to use your personal days, it must be approved by administration. Depending on who you work for, you may get to use those days and you may not. And with all those other jobs, when you're out sick, clock out and go home, work is not a requirement. As an educator, as much as I enjoy it, the cycle doesn't end. Even right now, how I sound, we are officially on our February break for 9 days. Thursday night, body aches hit. Friday morning, congestion hit, along with the body aches. But I pushed myself to be there because it was our final day before break, and I had committed to rewarding my last block of students with Chick-fil-A. Teaching is about pushing through, because if you're not present, there is so much to be missed. But I am acknowledging that I've pushed my body too hard. Late nights of grading papers and creating math stations so that they can see these problems with repetition. Making sure I can give data feedbacks for students that are performing low because I'm currently teaching at an F campus that we are trying to get to a C campus. When we go back, it'll be 35 days till start testing. It is so much weight and burden that you carry as an educator. Showing up. I am a believer in Jesus Christ, and it is his word and love that sustains me. In any job role, showing up is necessary, but as a teacher, let me explain my struggle. I have class sizes of 30 plus students in 90-minute blocks. A third of each class or students are identified as needing special ed services, then a few more 504 accommodations, and then a few more behavior intervention plans. Literally, a good portion of each of my classes, about a third, have students with documentation and must follow and remember that I'm not sued. Yes, teachers can be sued. I currently teach middle school math. And when we began the school year, our data said that only 7 out of 300 students tested on level in math. Great odds, huh? And I'm not surprised because a good portion of my students cannot even do single-digit multiplication and division. Our curriculum is laid out for us, but we have this impossible pacing calendar to follow. And with the amount of learning gaps, and when things may be running smoothly, one of my BIP students decides to curse out a classmate for no reason, and then the class loses its focus. I show up trying to give my students hope that math will get better if they keep trying, but I'm the teacher and I keep trying and there's no change. I recently read a book, Your Work Matters to God. The author mentioned that we are to do the work and trust the result to God. So I try to do my best and give the rest to God, but it is hard. It is very hard because I don't want to send these children out into the world and they can't count their own money. I don't want them to go out into the world and they can't even get a proper education because they were passed along because of this wonderful No Child Left Behind. But I only can give so much. I am only one person with 86 students. And very few of them meeting grade level. I can't be the fun teacher that never teaches a lesson. Those types do exist. I can't be the teacher that just gives out of 70, knowing that a student did no work at all. If I show up, I committed to God to represent Him well and do what I was placed and called to do. Because I truly believe teaching is a calling. Sacrifice. The more you show up to the job does not mean the company will value you more. Same thing with being an educator. We get those 5 personal days and 5 sick days. Then you're docked. You're docked almost like $350 a day. The last year, I had to choose between my income and my health, which you cannot afford doctors without an income. As an educator, you're forever pouring, even when on empty, to meet the expectations of administration, the parents of students, your department members, and most importantly, your students. There are students without parents at home. There are students that have parents in the home that receive no nurturing. There are students that come to class dirty and hungry. And spiritually praying for each one of them daily, touching the seat that they will sit in, asking God to bless and calm each one of their souls and to give them pure joy, can be draining. Because I'm limited to what I can do. It is hard to be at your best when you're sick, but it's also difficult for my students to get what they need when I'm absent. So who makes the sacrifice? I remember the crazy story about a bank employee found deceased at her desk. What an awful way to pass away, and even no one noticed. It seemed no one had even been looking for her. And she sacrificed her time to an employer, and literally her cup ran empty. Support. Bring me to my last thought. Where was her support? The first campus I taught at, the team I worked with was amazing. Not perfect, but we all contributed in our own way and found ways to support each other. I know some people don't care to make friends at work, but in the field of education, you need a professional support system on campus and a personal support system away from the job. Because if you have no support, who is holding you up and pouring into you when you're on empty? Most recently, and I'm very transparent when I share my podcast, and transparency has been what it's all about. December Christmas break, we were only 2 days into break. That Sunday, I had to do a clear liquid diet to prepare for a much needed colonoscopy that I had waited for all year. And wow. Went through that December 21st, and on December 22nd, I felt nauseated at about 3 a.m. and fainted in my bathroom and fell on my face. I am not a stranger to fainting spells. They happen every 2 to 3 years. We just haven't found out the cause. The doctor said when the ambulance took me to the hospital that I was dehydrated. I don't know if it was just one of my fainting spells or dehydration. But blood was coming out of my mouth. My lip was swollen and yucky for over a week. I had damage. I thought I had injured my neck. It was very sore. And it was just a whole mess. And then because I couldn't get it done then, I was still having some internal issues. And when we returned back to work, I made it to our professional development days. And my GI doctor was telling me to go to the emergency room, and that was on that Monday. And I was praying to make it through the week because I didn't want to miss work. Insanity, right? But that Wednesday, the pain in my belly got so bad that I had to go to the ER, and I was in the hospital for 3 days. The colonoscopy revealed that everything was normal. And when I saw my doctor today, she asked me about those issues, and I said, I've realized that the issues that I have are very stress related. And she shared with me that every educator that has come through her office, she hasn't heard anybody yet say they're happy with their job. I have a passion for being an educator, but I know that I will continue operating on empty. And I can't continue that way, else I will be cutting my life short. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet because I try honestly to submit to God in all things. Last summer, I prayed so hard for him to give me a position elsewhere, but it's stuff going on at all campuses, at all jobs. And I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm almost at midlife. I'm 45. And so I have to be wise with any move that I make when it comes to employment. So if you're listening and you are pouring from an empty cup, you're running on fumes, trying to make your job happy and do the impossible because you know that there will always, as they say, the goal will keep moving. They use a football analogy. The goal will keep moving. And someone shared with me recently about me still having control issues and not handing it over to God. And as much as I would like to believe that I have given this entire profession and this emptiness and this drained feeling and the stress and the worry and the weight and the anxiety of it all, I know I haven't. My body tells me I haven't. So I continue to pray for a heart of submission and learning how to really leave the stress, the worry, the workload at the foot of Jesus. Because I'm only one person and I can only do what I can do. I can't undo the past for my students. I can only be in the present. I can't carry the weight of our campus. I can't carry the weight of the math department. I can't carry the weight of the 7th grade population. I can't carry the weight of my students' personal struggles at home. All of that has to be left at the feet of Jesus. So if you are pouring from an empty cup in the workplace today, I ask God to heal you, to touch you, and to renew your heart. I ask that God guide you of where He needs you to be. Because sometimes we can be in places where people don't appreciate us, but we stay there because it's like we're going to keep doing the job to show them we can fulfill the job. And it's just not where that season is over and we need to move on. I've even been in that place when I graduated with my bachelor's and I had received my certification to teach. I had to go through some different channels to receive my official documentation. But I was like, oh, I'm going to teach and I'm going to keep the security job. Maybe I'll try to work both full-time jobs because I had student taught and worked night security. And that was the same thing. I would just now be paid. I wasn't ready to let the security job go. And as God was trying to elevate me from that, I kept trying to hold on to it. And some things happened at work where I felt blatantly disrespected. And I said, it's time to let it go. And I said, if something is sent my way, I'm going to let it go. And in the middle of the night, I sent a job was sent my way. And I sent a resignation letter to my security job. And my sergeant said, the way they treated you, the letter that you wrote was so professional and polite. Always remember you represent God. Because there are coworkers and staff and bosses that will make you go toe to toe with them. And I've been there too. I am not perfect at all. And there are things that I've said on the job in heated moments that I wish I could take back. Because people, you can do, as they say, you can do a million good things. But that one negative thing is how people remember you. So stay encouraged today. And continue to seek for your cup to be filled as you are pouring out for others in the workplace. I am Everett Maxine, and I want to thank you for listening to The Absence of Her. Please like, follow, and most importantly, share.